Everything matters when trying to get a crop off to its best start, including every pound of nitrogen applied to the soil. However, due to many factors outside of a farmer's control, as much as half of the nitrogen applied can become unavailable for plant uptake.
Some of the factors that cause nitrogen fertilizer to become unavailable for plant uptake are leaching, denitrification, and volatilization. When we're talking about anhydrous ammonia applications, then the two factors that we really think about are denitrification and leaching.
Incorporating a nitrification inhibitor helps combat nitrogen losses, stabilizing the nitrogen in the plant's root zones longer, so crops have more time to absorb it.
Inhibitors provide more nitrogen to the plant by keeping it into an ammonium form. We utilize enhanced efficiency fertilizers such as inhibitors to reduce that transformation to the nitrate form. And if we can keep it in that ammonium form, it's positively charged where soils are negatively charged, and that leaves it less susceptible to these loss mechanisms such as denitrification and leaching.
Koch Agronomic Services has developed a next-generation nitrification inhibitor that will protect growers' anhydrous ammonia and UAN investment from leaching and denitrification.
Centuro is a brand new active ingredient. It's pending registration with EPA right now, so it's not available for farmers to use quite yet. But when it does become available, it's going to be a new nitrification inhibitor that farmers can use with anhydrous ammonia or UAN to help protect against nitrogen loss from leaching or denitrification. Centuro actually works on the ammonium monooxygenase enzyme. It inhibits that enzyme, which is in the bacteria that converts ammonium to nitrate. And so by slowing down the activity of that enzyme, we have more ammonium in the soil, less nitrate in the soil, and so therefore less loss of that nitrogen from leaching or denitrification. Koch Agronomic Services has been doing a lot of research with land-grant universities across the Corn Belt, and the research has shown that it indeed does keep the nitrogen in the stable ammonium form, prevents leaching and denitrification losses, and been shown to increase yield from both fall and spring applied anhydrous ammonia applications.
Research has shown that Centuro will protect yields and improve nitrogen use efficiency, while also minimizing the potential impact to nearby water sources.
Working in Nebraska with Centuro, we had 5 different trials. So for the seed loam, we had a total water input on that growing season between rainfall and irrigation of 30 inches. And so it was an environment where we had the pressure for losses for both denitrification and leaching, just because of the amount of water we had and the timing of that water input. In this specific environment, Centuro yielded 24 bushels per acre more than applying fertilizer alone without any inhibitor. And that was a very specific nitrogen rate. It was at 120 pounds of N per acre applied in the spring. And so that was a very big yield increase that we had for that environment. So we had all that lost pressure, and we had a product there that helped us to protect that fertilizer from being lost.
We've been able to do some research on Centuro in drainage water quality studies, looking at the impact on nitrate leaching. And we just finished up our second growing season on that, and we've seen some reduction in nitrate concentration, especially in the early spring nitrate leaching that we see coming from our drainage plots in that April, May, and June period, which is a critical nitrate loss, nitrate leaching period in Iowa.
Our research on Centuro in particular has been focused on poorly drained soils. We've been evaluating it since 2012, so we've looked at it for about 6 years. So about VT, when the plant's tasseling, we evaluate the greenness of the plant using a SPAD meter. Okay, and when we've evaluated Centuro plus anhydrous ammonia, we've seen greener plants compared to the absence of Centuro in the anhydrous ammonia. And then ultimately, how's that carry over into yield? We've seen about a 4% increase in yield, okay, when anhydrous ammonia was combined with Centuro compared to anhydrous ammonia applied alone.
The second environment where we saw a positive response of using nitrification inhibitor on corn grain yield was under a sandy loam site. So that would be a site that we would expect to see having leaching as being the most important loss if a loss was present. And so using Centuro at 120 pounds of N per acre nitrogen rate improved grain yield in corn 14 bushels per acre as compared to not using any inhibitor at that same nitrogen rate. And so if a farmer is using a nitrification inhibitor and those losses happen, he or she will likely be able to see the impact of protecting the nitrogen. However, if those losses don't occur on that growing season, they may likely not be able to see that impact, which doesn't mean that it didn't work. It's just the remaining of the nitrogen pool was still there, and that was enough probably for the crop to complete the growing season at its yield potential.
Throughout the Midwestern Corn Belt, producers are really being asked to reduce the amount of nitrate that's lost from their agricultural production systems. And they're really looking for ways that they can do that can hopefully have a positive impact on their profitability while also minimizing nitrate leaching. And so if the studies on Centuro show that there's a reduction in nitrate leaching, it could be another tool that farmers have to help with reducing that nitrate loss that's of concern both for local water qualities as well as regional water quality.
Once registered, I think Centuro gives us peace of mind when it comes to flexibility for fall or spring applications of anhydrous ammonia. The other thing is risk management when it comes to avoiding situations or dealing with situations where we have risk of loss, whether it's leaching loss or denitrification loss, and then ultimately yield, where we see an increase in yield consistently, where we have loss mechanisms that take place. That's going to be important when you get for a good return on investment.